page views. You know, as a web company, this is a great problem to have, right? But it is a problem. So our traffic on Curse.com is driven by gamers. They're looking for ways to improve their online experience, and they can do this on Curse.com. Before BizSpark, we used the LAMP stack. We had a ton of servers, and I do mean a ton. We added more and more servers to our server farm, and we had no way of meeting the demands of our customers. So how did we solve this problem? We migrated to the Microsoft Web Platform, and here are some of the results. Here you can see the daily unique visitors to Curse.com during a series of World of Warcraft patches. You know, you often hear about companies that invest millions and millions of dollars in Super Bowl ads, and the next day their site goes offline because they can't meet the traffic. Well, 4 to 5 times a year, World of Warcraft patches create a similar sort of occurrence on Curse.com. We have to scale up at an insane level. And using the Microsoft Web Platform, we've absolutely been able to do this. We've cut our server hardware by a third. We now have a third of the server hardware, and we're able to handle 3 times the traffic with no problem. So it's just been a phenomenal experience. So, you know, we fully anticipate exponential growth in the online gaming market, and because we have such a great web platform, we're totally confident to be able to scale out. And I hope you'll come see us at Curse.com. Thank you.
Great. Thanks. So we've talked about a lot of technology, a lot of programs today. In terms of next steps, things I recommend, if you haven't been to Microsoft.com/web before, I recommend checking it out. You can download the web platform installer as well as visit the Windows Web Application Gallery to download applications and make it really easy to get started, provision servers as well as development machines. Recommend getting ready for VS 2010 and .NET 4. We'll be launching it actually here in Vegas next month. And you can download the release candidate of both those products today, as well as attend a bunch of great sessions this week to learn more about the features. And if you haven't checked out the BizSpark and Website Spark programs, recommend taking a look. It can provide hopefully an easy way to get started, save money, and grow a successful business. So I want to thank everyone for coming this week. We have Doug Purdy next, who's going to be talking about services-based web development. And hope you have a great week, and thanks a bunch.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Doug Purdy.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm going to talk to you about services powering experiences. In order to do that, I'd like to ask a very quick question. How many of you use Twitter? Lots of hands are going up. Many of you are around there. I love my Twitter. Everyone I know loves Twitter, particularly here at Microsoft. And one of the interesting things about Twitter is Twitter gives you a great website where you can go interact with all the people doing tweets and that ecosystem, that social network that's there. But the next interesting thing about it is they also have a rich ecosystem of experiences like this that you see here, or rich experiences like this, or a host of rich experiences that are available on a variety of different operating systems and a variety of different devices. And what we're really seeing is a profound change from just websites to web APIs. The shift from a website that you experience the web property with to an API that allows you to have a website experience on top of that with your web browser. But the browser is part of a larger halo of devices and experiences that sit outside and allow you to interact with that web API in rich and new ways to take advantage of the underlying platform that is available to you. And we call that services powering experiences. And so take a step back and really think of what you've seen over the last 2 days. You have seen this in almost every single demo that you have seen here. You have seen rich experiences on the Windows Phone 7. You have seen browsers all talking directly to web APIs. And if you take a step back and you think about it, we are really undergoing a profound change in the way that we think about what an application is and what a web property is on the web. Now, if you embrace this worldview and you understand this worldview, there are 3 critical questions that should pop into your mind. These are critical questions that we think deeply about. The first question is, how do you enable many experiences? It seems as if a new device or a new runtime or a new language comes up on the web almost every single day. How do you determine which language, which device you're going to support? Secondly, How do you make your web API scalable and reliable? How do you ensure that if your API is successful and you have many developers and users that are hitting it, that it's actually going to be able to withstand that load? And the third question is, how do you make money? We know how to make money on websites. There's a thing called advertisements. But when you embrace this new worldview of having a web API, how do you charge for that as a developer? How can you make money off of that underlying API and the functionality and data set that is provided? So what we're going to do is pose these questions and then answer them in turn. So let's look at the first one. How do you enable all those different experiences, all those different devices? Well, it's a web API, it's a web world. So open free standards, standards like HTTP, standards like Atom. But as we've been working into this web API world, there are three things that we think a lot about that we have needed to build on top of HTTP and Atom Pub. And it's something that as we worked with customers and we've built out our own web APIs that have become very apparent to us. And the first thing is the desire to have very rich query. Almost every single time when we look at a web API, we see that people want to query data in a free-form way. They'd like to be able to issue arbitrary expressions against a web API and get results back. The third thing we often see with web APIs is that people want to program directly against that API inside of the browser. Although most web APIs only expose their data as XML. And so what we see is a lot of people coming up with encodings from Atom and Atom Pub directly into JSON. But everyone does them a bit differently. And the third thing we often see is the desire for you to have rich metadata, to understand what a service does and get a good programming experience, particularly in strongly typed languages. And looking at those three items, we've come up with a series of conventions, 3 conventions plus some additional things, on top of Atom and Atom Pub that we call the Open Data Protocol. The Open Data Protocol is a set of conventions, and it's very simple for you, if you understand Atom and Atom Pub, to understand the things that we have available inside of OData. That's what we call it for short. In order to show OData off in a first-class way, I'm going to invite up on the stage Jonathan Carter, and we're going to show you a real-world example. Jonathan?
Hey, Doug. Thanks for having me out.
Great.
It's great to be here.
So what Jonathan is going to do is going to show us a real live example. We're going to use this throughout the rest of the talk as the spine of a bunch of different applications and services that we'll be building out. So Jonathan, what do you have?
Well, Doug, I'm pretty excited to announce that literally just now backstage, Netflix has announced a new API on top of their entire data catalog using the Open Data Protocol. Now, what's interesting about this is if a developer needs to create an application using movies, television seasons, actors, genres, they don't have to create that wheel and that data themselves. They can consume it using the Open Data Protocol.
So, Jonathan, if you'll click on that link, if you go to http://odata.netflix.com, you can follow along. So if you have a laptop, you can follow along with exactly what Jonathan is doing. This API is live today.
Right.
And so Jonathan clicked on the link, and what you see is an Atom service document. No, nothing new here. This is just a set of collections that Netflix is exposing in their API. So Jonathan, I see catalog titles. Can we go ahead and drill into that? And what we see here is it's going to go do a get and return to you all the catalog titles that are available in the Netflix catalog. And so what you'll see is a bunch of additional information in there. You have a link where you can actually play the movie if it's available. You can see the rating. You can see how long the movie actually runs for. So there's a number of things that are just available to you. So this is great data that you can start to use in your applications today. Now, Jonathan, one of the things I talked about was query, the ability to want to execute arbitrary expressions. Can you show how we can do that?
Yeah, so one thing that OData adds, Doug, is the convention of a filter query option. So what we could do is go up into the URL and simply specify that we want to do a filter. Now, we can target any property, whether it be scalar or navigation. So in this case, I'll just simply say, give me all titles that are rated higher than 4.5.
And what this is doing is it's an arbitrary expression. We run it and execute it up on the server and then return the results for you. Now, Jonathan, I know you were deeply involved in the